This is episode 227 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Devon Kennard. You may know that name because he's actually been on the show before. He was a previous guest on episode 107 from January of 2024. And the crazy thing, we're recording on the exact same date 1 year later. He's also a former pro athlete turned investor and a lender. He's also an author. He wrote the book, It All Adds Up. And his new book is Real Estate Side Hustle. Devon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back, man. I'm excited to be back. I'm sure you don't have a lot of repeat guests, so I take it as an honor.
Yeah, I think you're number 5, and I've been watching. Of course we're always in touch and texting, but I've been watching, and I've seen, like, I'm always thinking, like, hey, what is everyone doing in a year? And you've done a lot in a year because you were getting going then, and you were still going, but you've changed a lot of stuff up. And of course, you came out with the second book. So let's just start there with the side hustle, because I think it's important, of course, coming from where you did as an athlete, for people to kind of set up something for afterwards. But I think everybody now is looking for that kind of real estate side hustle. So how did you come up with the concept for the second book, and tell us a little bit what it's about and how it's applied to what you've learned?
Well, this book I'm really passionate about, and it's not that It All Adds Up in my first book wasn't, great and impactful, but this second book, Real Estate Side Hustle, it really resonates with me, my journey, as an investor, because essentially I believe that all busy professionals should have some kind of side hustle as they're building, life outside of their day job. And it's just magnified being a professional athlete, because I'm in a position where I can make a good amount of money, but it's for a short amount of time. So it's like, well, what about when my career ends? So, it really is targeting, obviously, athletes, but really anybody who's a busy professional, in building out the systems, the team, and the processes in order to be able to build a portfolio of investments, specifically in real estate, but the principles really apply to any asset class. But that's kind of the passion point behind the book. And it's had great reception so far, because I feel like it really connects with people who are like, I want to do that, but how do I invest passively? How do I keep the main thing, which is my career, while starting to grow a portfolio of investments? And I think Real Estate Side Hustle answers that.
Do you think that when you were a little bit too wide, it was just too many opportunities for mistakes or things to fall through the cracks?
A lot can definitely fall through the cracks, and we could even touch on like syndication investments, which I know you have some experience or knowledge in. I've invested in a ton over my NFL career, and I've made the ones that's gone full cycle already. I made a ton of money on. A lot of, it's been rocky the last couple of years, but none of mine are really failing right now. I got some that's like
same with me.
Payments but everyone's tracking. But one thing I will say is, as I did a lot of that syndication money back moving forward, and I kind of staggered everything to where, like, every year or two, I'm supposed to be getting, repayment and all of that. But I'm kind of licking my chops to get my money back, because one thing I've seen is it's frustrating sometimes not having any control. And, earlier in my investing career, when I was super focused on just football, it was like, all right, like I need, but I'm kind of in a place, not that I'll always invest in some syndications, because if you find a really good operator in a niche that you believe in,
it's just easy money. And
but people don't talk about the downside of investing that way instead of buying some of your own stuff. And that's, you lose all flexibility. You're not dictating when you refinance, when you sell, 1031 exchange. Can I do a cost segregation state? Like, you don't get any of those options. You're pretty much like, let's call it $100,000. I invest in this deal, and they're going to tell me when I get my return, type of deal.
That's important.
So I found like people got to understand that aspect of it, is where it's like, obviously choose good operators, underwrite the deal and all that. But even so, you lose all control, and you're just kind of waiting and being told. And I'm kind of in a phase where I value having flexibility with my capital, of like, oh, I'm underwriting this deal, and now's a good time. It makes sense to refinance, because I can get a higher return with my money doing this. So you can't do any of that in a syndication.
So with 42 Solutions, who's your ideal client? I know we talked about it a year ago, but now I think that client's changed. Of course, now it's going to be generally Arizona, but are you looking to work with only flippers, or are you moving outside of that for traditional mortgages as well?
Yeah. So my primary borrower is going to be a fix and flipper. I'm not doing traditional mortgages. I'm still going
Yeah.
to be lending on investment properties. And I want to work with experienced investors because I want to work smarter, not harder. If I'm working with an experienced investor, they're probably going to be doing several deals with me, not just one.
Yeah.
So I love that concept. I get them onboarded the first time. Every loan after that is extremely fast and efficient.
Yeah.
And my strategic advantage and where I found my lane is that I'm somewhere in between 100% private money, which I would consider 100% private money is like you going to your next door neighbor or your aunt or uncle or
Friends and
mom and
family.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, I found this property. Will you give me the money for it so I can do this deal?
Yeah.
And there's hardly no documentation. Like
You give me 100 grand, I'll give you 101.
and people get that. And I think that's
Yeah.
some best money. If you can go get access to that, that's great. The limitation with that is they usually only have so much. Don't start investing until you build your team. So I heard it a long time ago. I think it was Brandon Turner, and I use it. I coined it even more. But that core four thing of making sure you have a deal finder, contractor, property manager, and a lender. If you could build that team, you can invest in any market. But
Yeah.
instead of just chasing shiny objects and trying to go to several different markets, whatever's hot, Alabama was hot, or maybe still is. Like
Yeah.
instead of jumping around, build a solid core four team there and go deep there. And one thing I've added to that core four though is like I kind of worded like have your starters and your bench players.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oh,
have your
totally agree.
backups because I've had a great core four team in a market, but then property management starts slipping and I don't have a backup. And it took me too long and I lost too much money figuring that out. So now
Yeah.
I make sure I got my starters and bench players at all times.